Now let's talk about the degenerate dimension, which is really the columns in a fact table that cannot be placed in a dimension. A degenerate dimension in Tabular works similar to cubes. The measures created in Tabular are in the Fact Tables tab. This is the same area where the degenerate dimension attributes are located. There is no reason to create a new tab in the grid view for the Internet Sales or Reseller Sales fact table. Hide these surrogate keys and primary keys so there are no visible ones for the reporting tools other than the degenerate dimension attributes. Here you see the Internet Sales fact table. Visible are the surrogate keys and primary keys as well as other keys. We need only see carrier tracking number and PO number for this degenerate dimension. Once these are hidden, the measures from the fact table are viewable above the list as measures, and only the degenerate attributes are in the Internet Sales dimension for display. Now let's look at how we can make the Internet Sales fact table a degenerate dimension. In this demonstration, we'll launch the SQL Server Data Tools. Once the application is launched, we'll open the previously created project for our AdventureWorks Data Warehouse 2014 Tabular model. Once that's open, we're going to go ahead first and look at what this view is viewable in Excel. We'll go to Model and Analyze in Excel with the current user. When we get the pivot table, we'll see in the upper right the measures. They're usually prefaced with a summation and then the KPIs. Then we see dimension tables. These are all organized based on our dimensional model. Here we see that Internet Sales and Reseller Sales are actually dimensions listed. Now we see that we have keys as well as columns, and we need to hide these so they're not viewable and only the degenerate dimension attributes are viewable. We'll minimize Excel and we'll go to the Internet Sales. First thing we could do is highlight the existing columns that we want to hide. We can click and hold on Ship Date and drag to the left, right click, and hide these from the Client tool. We need to do it with Customer as well as the primary keys. And once we hide all that, we will see that now we just have the tracking number and the PO number, which is our degenerate dimension attributes. We'll save this, go back to Excel, and do a refresh all. Now, if we scroll to the Internet Sales dimension, we'll only see customer PO and tracking number. And now once we start slicing and dicing with these degenerate attributes, we can actually look at their sales as well as some of the other measures created previously. This helps with creating a degenerate dimension in a tabular model. Next, we'll look at role-playing dimensions. Though there is no direct support for role-playing dimensions, you can create this by duplicating the dimension or using DAX. In this example, we'll look at a common role-playing dimension. The fact table, Internet Sales, in our example, has 3 different dates: order, ship, and due. These dates are connected to the date dimension, but only the order date key is active. Currently, that active date, order date, is in a relationship to the date dimension. You could see this in this diagram. The edit relationship shows checked active. Ship date and due date would not have this active checkbox checked. There can only be one active relationship between a fact table and an individual dimension. You can change the active and redeploy if you wanted ship date to be the current date dimension. Or you can use DAX to create a different relationship for the display of additional measures. The DAX option is very complicated and hard to test and deploy. Next, we're going to show an example of importing a new date dimension. We have to re-import the data from the Model Existing Connection menu choice. Then rename to ship date, and modify the dimension just like the date dimension previously. This is tedious at first, but it is easier than managing the DAC code for a specific measure. We have to update that dimension so it looks like the date dimension. And we also have to understand that only one table can be the date table. Leave that as the order date for that time intelligence functionality. Let's look at a demonstration of creating a new date dimension for role playing. First, we'll launch the SQL Server Data Tools. Then we'll open the previously created project for our VentureWorks database. Next, we need to add a new date dimension to our model. We'll go to the Model menu choice and import from an existing connection. We'll open that connection and select from a list, and we'll select dim date again. But this time we're going to change the friendly name to ship date. We'll preview and filter in order to remove, say, foreign names from our date dimension. We can remove other columns as necessary. And once we finish filtering and previewing, we'll click OK. I'm going to remove the fiscal and calendar semester and click OK and then finish. Now this new date dimension has been imported, but there are no relationships. So once we close that window, we'll go to the bottom right to diagram, and we'll see we have a ship date now in our diagram. What I'm going to do is find the ship date, and I'm going to move it towards internet sales. Once I have it where I need it, I will put a relationship between ship date key and this date key. I'll also go to the ship date key that's related to my date dimension, and I'll go ahead and delete that one. We delete it by right-clicking and then checking the delete menu choice. Next, we'll have to clean up our new ship date dimension. Here, we'll scroll down and rename some of our columns. We'll take calendar off a quarter, calendar off the year, and we'll right-click on year to create a new hierarchy. We'll call this hierarchy Ship Y, Q, Month, and Day. We'll also rename the English month name to just Month. And we'll also go to the properties to sort the month name by the month number. We'll hide the month number of year. And we'll scroll up and hide date key, and then rename full date alternate key to just date. Now we've modified the ship date, we've added a relationship, and now we can slice and dice from it in Excel. We'll analyze in Excel. We'll see that we have a new date dimension. Here's our ship date. We'll drag it to rows, and now we can see we can slice and dice by ship date.